Hotep Senuhena Senut itiren ishakanugu kemet. Hotep Senuhena Senut itiren ishakanugu kemet. Hope you're doing well. The sound is loud and clear. Right. The title of this video is TD Jakes quote, "We are raising up women to be men," unquote. And another quote, "Stop bragging about how much you don't need me." Actually, the full quote is, "Stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me." But I will play the actual excerpt. The sermon, particularly this excerpt, has caused some sort of controversy. A lot of people are talking about it. Some people have decided to cancel TD Jakes. People are reporting that his church is now half empty, but I don't know how truthful this statement is. But let's just go ahead and see what he said. Oh no, wrong one. There it is.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning.
That's it. That is what has caused some controversy. There is a very influential movement that is growing very rapidly. It's the feminist movement. Quite an opportunistic movement. I've seen a video. It appears to date. I have a feeling it's quite old. I think they give the name of the person. It is kind of viral on social media, like TikTok. It came more than once on my feed. And you have a gentleman facing a lady. Don't know if she's a feminist, but she might be. And he tells the lady, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember verbatim what he said, was telling her that, the people who die the youngest are men, the people who do the hardest labor are men. And he went on about those figures that are usually not mentioned. We usually hear a lot of women are not paid the same as men. A lot of women um, don't get to leadership position in the workplace as much as men, and so on. and it's to the point where you will feel like the society is so unfair towards women. But on the other hand, when it comes to families, when it comes to children's custody, there's a huge disparity. It has kind of become the norm, but it's very severe. There's plenty of men who barely get to see their children. I didn't see my son for about a year just because the mother decided to give me trouble. And there was no punishment, there was no penalty. I don't know how it is in America, but in France, this legal system and all entities around it, like social worker, people who do investigation and basically make reports to the judge. The judge for, we call it judge for family. There's also judge for children. So those are the one who decide for the custody of the children. With the child, stay with the mother, and the father will have visitation. I mean, visitation. Will the father have the child over at his place over the weekend and half of the school holidays, or will the father have visitation in a in the place with some social workers, professionals, and so on, or should we give the full custody to the mother, or should the child be placed in foster care or foster family? The majority of these people are female. A lot of them are feminists, very disrespectful towards men, and it's a great injustice. So I'm usually reluctant when it comes to talking about male female dynamics because black people, as I said many times, who are all over the place, we are into so many different belief systems and we try to attach ourselves to these cultures. So we touch on history, we make linguistic acrobatics, we talk about DNA and history, and we try to place ourselves in all those different parts of the world where those belief systems originated. So we are not even on the same page about who we are and who we used to be. And if you don't have a strong foundation, the structure is not solid. Any little movement, earthquake, and it can be trouble. Hold on. And when it comes to male female dynamics, um, sometimes if you start talking about this, you we have some men who have grievances towards females and vice versa. And I'm usually reluctant because I don't want it to be like, male versus female. But males are usually criticized for their wrongdoings. And now feminism is getting so out of hands, it's to the point where whenever women in general or a woman is criticized, then the person that makes the criticism is easily labeled as chauvinist, misogynistic, anti-woman, and what have you. Like I said, I don't know how true the statement is that the church of TD Jack is half empty now. But even if it's not half of the people and just a quarter of the people that decided to bounce over some statement, I find it extremely strange that you will follow someone for years, maybe decades, and one day he happens to criticize modern day women. So one day he happens to criticize modern day women, and they would just decide to bounce. Let's check this out. Hope you're doing well. Oh, that was the beginning. Over. Well. Oh, that was the beginning. All right. What is your take on this? What is your take on TD Jake's statement? What is your take on the controversy or the backlash? And what is your take on feminism in general? Now, I expect some participation. I'm not going to flow by myself about this topic because I want to know what your input is. So, I have shared the link for people who want to get on the panel if they don't mind showing their face. Otherwise, you have the chat. Feel free to type. And if people don't participate, then I guess it's not the topic that gathers enough interest, so we can call it a day. Link to get on the. Okay, I'm not even going to share the link again anyway. Those who don't know, the link appears in the chat. It's in the top right corner. It is pinned, so it means it remains at the top. So feel free, let me know. Let me know what's your take on this. Did you hear about this backlash? Did you hear about this controversy? Do you agree with TD Jakes? Do you disagree with TD Jakes? As usual, we can talk about something else, but I felt like touching on this. Some women feel like because they are women, they have to be feminists. Just like some black people feel like because they are black, then they have to be Pan Africans. A lot of them don't even know what being Pan African mean. They don't necessarily have a definition for it. They might equate being Pan African with being pro black. They will not necessarily know much about the history of Pan Africanism. And actually, and I'm talking about, a lot of people who are, describe themselves as Pan Africans while not being part of any Pan African movement. Some ladies are not part of any feminist group or organization, so they don't uh, meet on a regular basis and talk about feminist issues. But by default, they would say, "Yeah, I'm a feminist." A few dudes also, we always have Sims every now and then. They will claim to be feminists as well. There is, however, a difference when it comes to relationship. The behavior of women of other ethnic group and black women. One of the main complaints has been that black women are very combative with the black men, but when we see them with non-black men, they are very, very cooperative, not to say submissive. But if we look around the world, how women behave towards their men, towards their husband, and we'll make the comparison with how black women behave towards their husband. And really, I guess we should say, black woman in the Western world, because in Africa, there's not too much of that feminist thought, feminist movement, and so on. So it is safe to say there is I forgot if the title is freedom of speech, but it is the comedian Eddie Griffin who has that joke about the nagging, and he actually talks about that. Yeah, the women of other ethnic groups, how they behave with their men. When the black man comes home, straight away nagging, 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 and he said nagging kills. So it's quite funny. I like that part. Having to deal with all the hardship of life is already a challenge. And if we do all that to go home and have challenge at home with someone who's supposed to be cooperative and on your side, but you have demonstration or upon demonstration that the person wants to compete with you. It makes it very, very, very difficult. Now, there is another touchy subject where I feel there's some hypocrisy, or let's say double standard. There's a lot of black women who love to criticize a black man, particularly when he's a celebrity, someone rich or famous, and he happens to be in a relationship with a non-black woman. There are some black women who will react immediately and say all sort of things. But when it's black women who engage in a relationship with non-black men, we don't see the same energy. Why constantly and regularly criticize one gender? Bear with me. So feel free to interact. You will not get canceled. Don't worry. Do we always have to talk about religion and history? You have to either agree with TD Jakes or disagree with his statements, or agree with some of the things I say or disagree with some of the things I say. So at least let it be known in the chat. Don't be shy. Now we have a very long username. Wake up World Health. Okay, I would say wake up World Health. A greater woman can handle constructive criticism well. I think you mean to say that. Okay, there it is. A greater amount of women cannot handle constructive criticism well. No need to apologize for the typo. It happens to the best of us. It happens to all of us. Well, thank you for participating. I agree with you. Not only a lot of women can handle criticism, but like rejection. Now, rejection has a strong connotation, but usually around the world. However, I must say that in America, it's a bit different. In America, a lot of women will eventually approach you if they want to, get to know you and stuff like that. In England, I've been there for a little while. In England, you can be approached. It will be probably less direct, a little bit more subtle. Uh, but in the rest of Europe, uh, usually the dude has to approach the lady, so he has to try. I don't want to say try his luck, but he has to give it a try if he's interested, if he's attracted, and ultimately, a lot of time, men will be rejected uh, for countless reasons. But a young man has to give it a try, unless really he's patient and he's in a setting like school or the religious let's say the place of worship, um, or some sort of social gathering, a party, celebration, some events where there's family, and then some of the sisters of the cousins come with their friends. But sometimes you just be in the street or in some other setting, and someone sparks your interest and you want to try to holler. So we have to make that effort. Some don't make that effort, but it's not easy all the time, because we know before we go that we might get rejected, and sometimes you get rejected. No disrespect, no hard feeling, but some ladies can be very harsh. Um, a lot of women, when they don't get their way and they get rejected, they don't handle it well at all. But I guess it's because they're not used to being rejected. Uh, Dudes in general, we are used to being rejected, because society is so that we have to make the first step. Um, Many women forget that there is toxic control and there's healthy control. The mother and father are both needed to help support each other and the children optimally. Well, it has been said so many times that most likely one of the reasons why we have so many um, young people who are up to no good is because they didn't have a father figure in their lives, particularly in their childhood. One thing that is mentioned very often when it comes to the black community is the Section 8 issues. You get a place to stay with your children, you get some financial help, but we don't want to see no dude around. We don't want to see. So, if we can learn from our mistakes, and that's good. If we don't learn from our mistakes, then it's a vicious cycle. So, besides the issues of history and religion, the black community have some issue, some problem when it comes to relationships. Sometimes when brothers say that, just like Aretha Franklin said, we want a little respect when we come home. Some sisters translate this as, you want me to be submissive. probably we could say that Abrahamic believers, particularly the Muslims and the Jews slash Hebrew Israelites, don't have to deal with this kind of issues, this kind of problems, because it is well known that they don't have to deal with so-called strong, independent women. So they don't have that worry, and they can focus on other endeavors. In Christianity, it depends on the interpretation of the teachings, the level of commitment to the corpus. Usually, there's cooperation. But when we say Christianity, that can include Catholicism. And I think it's safe to say that Christians, Black Christians, will encounter more feminism or more feminists than the Black Muslims or the Black Jews, Hebrew Israelites. But there will still be some boundary. Some people say it takes a village to raise a child. When you have a couple, whether they have children or not, and they are used to going to a place of worship, it's not exactly the equivalent of a village, but that's a community. You have elders, you have people of your age or generation, you have younger ones as well. And people don't want to act a fool in front of that community. We have a lot of loose cannons, male and females. While some people don't have any culture that they practice in particular, no belief system in particular. And when I say belief system, I guess you can include spirituality, even though it is not necessarily greatly defined. So there's not necessarily codes. There's no worry about what will the elders of my community think if I behave this way. And you know, one funny thing is that a lot of feminists, particularly Black feminists, will say a lot of things and that's very far removed from their upbringing. And if they engage in conversation with their own fathers, they will not have the same um, stance, don't you think? So I don't want this to be to be seen as okay. TD Jakes said something, and I'm going to take this opportunity to do some bashing. I hope so far nothing that I said will be interpreted as bashing. Hey, it's been a long time. Thickness, formerly known as M City. I hope you're doing well. She wrote, my father or all the men in my family never complained about feminism. But did they have to deal with feminisms though? You know, because if you don't have to deal with it, if you're not told about it, if you don't have any feminism behavior, opposition, competition, then you don't need to complain about it. But it is safe to say that today we hear a lot more about feminism than before. Yeah, sister, everything's all good. Everything's all good. So did your father and the other men in your family ever encountered feminism? Did they have some partners that are or that used to be self-proclaimed feminists? They were raised during the first era. Okay, I get it. You have to be very patient when you live stream because I was about to end the live stream, and now we have some people participating. But continue, feel free, brothers and sisters. I like the interaction. I like to know what other people's point of views are. So let's continue with this conversation. But feminism can go very far because in France there's a lady who shot her husband. She shot him in the back, several bullets. She claimed self-defense. She did a little bit of time in jail, but she was released. Now it was said that the dude, was like, used to rape her, used to rape the children. The police didn't do their job properly. When the guy is dead and gone, he's not here to defend himself. So I guess you can be in a relationship. Lady doesn't want to be with you for whatever reason. Maybe she wants to go with another dude. So she might stab you in your sleep or, shoot you in the back. And then she would say, well, he used to rape me and he used to rape the baby. And you're dead. You cannot even defend yourself. But when a female happens to be killed, they have a term for that. It's one of the worst things ever. Of course, not great when a human being kills another human being, but the reaction is not the same when it's the other way around. And nobody says, well, she drove him crazy. She cheated on him, didn't give him the attention. She used to beat him. She raped him. But anyway, my mom wasn't, that's a Thickness who wrote, my mom wasn't a feminist, nor were their close family members. Yeah. So that's why they didn't have to, that's why they never complained about it, because they never encountered it, you see. But today it's not the same. And, you have a lot of bitter women. And, the saying, misery loves company, and peer pressure can be very heavy. And sometimes you have some ladies who are in a relationship or in a marriage, and they will be influenced by their peers. And it's down the line that ultimately they will regret messing up a good thing. But Black women have no choice to take on a role of a man when a man decides to not be present and do what's needed. It's true. If the man is not there, the woman has no choice, indeed, to take on a role of a man, for lack of better words, put that in quotation. But TD Jakes, I don't know if you followed it actually. But you know what? Let me just play it again because it's about 1 minute long. So I have to find a video because I closed the tab, but yes. So I should find it like this. Is it the one? No, not this one. Where is it? It's about 1 minute long. Oh, there it is. I found it. TD Jakes was really talking about cases where the man is there actually. But anyway, let's listen to what he's saying. And of course, that's an excerpt from a speech or sermon. And then I will read the next comment that Sister Thickness left.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning. This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning.
All right, I looked it just so I could, refresh myself. Um, and this is what the Sister Thickness wrote. My dad worked two jobs and never complained about women doing this or that. It was, for the most part, very traditional that a woman should be home taking care of the children. Yeah, well, I get it. I get it. But your father didn't encounter nagging and, opposition, confrontation, competition. Then she wrote, I don't follow TD's snakes. Okay. A little wordplay. I don't follow TD Jakes either. But it is trending, not to say viral topic for the last few days. It's been about a week or so. There is this controversy, not to say scandal. I heard what he said in another video, though. As usual, a black man is blaming black women instead of holding the black men accountable. But why? What do you think should we hold the black men accountable for when it comes to TD Jakes' stance or statement? Because TD Jakes is talking about those women, who's like, like he said, stop bragging, stop coming home bragging about how much you don't need me. A man that's needed won't shy away, though. If she's doing all that on her own, does she really need him to begin with? Well, if she doesn't need him, she might as well tell him, I don't need you, and then, we end the relationship. But men, usually, we want to be with a female. We want to have a lady by our side. But we hear a lot of women say, I don't need a man. So maybe that's where the issue is. I don't live with a man I don't need. Indeed. And it's safe to say that TD Jakes is talking about couples, people who are married. If you are married, why would you tell your husband? Why would you brag to him about how much you don't need him? Now, maybe TD Jakes is talking about people who got together. Then the lady climbed up the social or corporate ladder. And then now that her paper is strong, the wife gets brand new and she starts talking about, I make more money than you. I don't need you. Is that cool? Because I don't know if people would agree if I say that, but traditionally, I don't know, people will dispute that probably. But let's say in the cases of husbands that are the only one working in the family because the lady will be home and take care of the children, and that's something that is an agreement in the couple in the household, or in cases where both parents work but the male make more money. Do men usually tell women, well, I make more money than you, I don't need you? Now, Thickness wrote, what is or isn't he doing for her to be doing all the breadwinning by herself? I didn't really understand that question. Not cool, but she should just leave him if she feels she now out earns him. Are you sure about your statement, sister? When you say she should just leave him if she feels she now out earns him, to earn more money than another person is not a moral or legitimate or logic ground for separation, is it? No need to be trying to break him mentally if they can work it out. Yes, that I agree with. Indeed, indeed. And you see, that's another thing, and it might be the pressure of society. But a lot of men will admit after a separation, after a breakup, that um, they messed up, or if they did not really, or if they did not necessarily mess up, uh, over time, you grow apart, your interests differ, and the passion is no longer there, and eventually the love fades away, and people decide to separate. So everybody go their own way. But it feels like women will have more tendency after a separation to throw salt, to throw dirt, to basically vilify her ex as a justification for the separation. I might be wrong, but it seems to me like more men will say, "Well, it's over. We broke up. We ended the relationship." And in comparison to more women who will say, "We're no longer together because he was that, he was doing this, and so on." Just for example, you might agree or disagree, and that's for everybody. That's for everybody listening. And even if you don't catch that while it is live, then feel free to leave some comments as well. But isn't it safe to say that we will encounter more women who are in a relationship, married or not, and they will say, my man and ish, compared to men? You don't usually hear men say, well, my woman and shh, you know. I mean, every now and then you have some dudes, who will complain about their girlfriend or wives, and they will have many different type of grievances. It happens, but and that's a usual saying, he ain't shh. But anyway, no, it's not morally right just to just leave, but better to leave than to try to humiliate him. Yes, I agree. And um Separation is not the best. It's not the nicest thing, but ultimately it might be the best option. Why stay together and tear each other apart? I wouldn't leave because of my money if we got married out of love. But we do need to be stable before we get married and for the long run. I wouldn't want for us to talk about each other like that, separated or not. Yes. But don't you agree, sister? Maybe you disagree, but it's something that we heard a lot of time. There's a lot of ladies. Yeah, my man and my dude and You have to forgive me for drinking like that out of the bottle, but summertime it is very warm. We have that heat wave again. If you ain't each, then leave him and move on, and vice versa. Yes, I agree. I agree. But anyway, that was just for the record. Psychologically, it is very heavy on black men having to deal with life in general. And in a corporate world, um, it is said many times that it is easier for a woman. Not in all instances. Yeah, it's true. Some people love to stay in unhappy relationships. They love toxicity. Yes, it is true. You have a few people that are like that. They go to a lot of drama, a lot of fight. Maybe they get a kick out of it. Maybe they get a kick of the physical altercation and not being cool for a while, and then getting together again. They might get a kick out making up. But it's true, yeah, yeah. You have a few people, they're they're into very, very toxic relationship. They go through a lot of trauma, and ultimately people are used to it. Like, all they're fighting, don't worry, they make up tomorrow. They make up by the end of the week. There's no wind whatsoever. In the corporate world, black women go through hard times as well. She's not getting special treatment. No, I'm not talking about special treatment. Black men don't get special treatment. But oftentimes people argue that in when it comes to work in general, because some people might disagree and say, well, in the corporate world, they're misogynistic, they're chauvinist, and all that. But a lot of people argue that it's easier for a black woman to get a job than for a black man. So that's just one thing. I'm not, I hope some people will not bring up the victimization, because it's quite trendy nowadays, because people usually have talking points for several situations. And when we talk about racism, some people just like to say, "Oh, that's victimization." You're tired of this. You know what I'm saying? So I hope nobody will bring up victimization, but some people argue that in general it's easier for black women to get a work than a black man. So that's one thing. So life in general as a black man. But then going home and having to deal with that, and when we compare with the other ethnic group, like Asians, Chinese, Koreans, um, Latinos, Middle Easterners, Orientals, when they go home, when they come, when they return home after work, they have less hardship to deal with in their own home. and that's her weight. Uh, that becomes heavy and heavier, and sometimes you'll feel like no matter what I do, no matter what I say, it's never good enough. I met some black men who love their corporate jobs and had no complaints back then. But what about now? But yeah, I wouldn't be in a relationship just to belittle my partner. And you know, that's the thing. You see, sisters, if it gets to the point where you're just so not happy, maybe it will be more constructive. You express your grievances. You want to communicate. Now, bashing is not really communicating. Belittling is not really communicating. But everybody have their way of expressing themselves. You express your grievances. You say what you're not happy about, what you would want, or what you need. And if it doesn't happen, what's the point? You know, going through that over and over again, and that causes arguments, that causes bitterness, and it's just not healthy. So eventually, you might want to call it quits, and then everybody can, find happiness elsewhere. If he's doing what he's supposed to, I have no complaints. Mm. If he's doing what he's supposed to do, I have no complaints. So probably so far we can say that TD Jakes is on point where he says, "Stop coming home bragging to me about how you don't need me." Now, a lot of black women like to say that they are strong black women, and it's a bit similar to me when black people like to call themselves kings and queens. I have issues with that. We don't really hear Chinese women say, "I'm a strong Chinese, I'm a strong woman," or any any other ethnic group. Basically, what is they like to say, "I'm a strong black woman," so I don't really hear people, Chinese women say, "I'm a strong Chinese woman." Korean women say, "I'm a strong Korean woman." Arabic women say, "I'm a strong Arabic woman." I'm sorry, I wouldn't want a home filled with trauma and stress. Home life be smooth sailing for the most part, but that's the thing, you know. Stress. If a lady tells her man, if she brags about how much she doesn't need him, particularly after she climbed up the ladder of the corporate world, so her paper is longer now, and she wants to nag her husband, that will cause stress indeed. And life in general is stressful enough the way it is. At home, you should find peace, comfort. And you know what's sad is that some women, if a man decides to bounce because he feels disrespected, some women will say, "Well, he wasn't man enough. His shoulders were not strong enough. He couldn't handle me. Is a man supposed to endure the stress given to him by his own wife over and over again for years and forever until death do us part? I don't think so. I don't say I'm strong. I'm human just like everyone else. I go through things. We all go through things. But yeah, we don't see people saying I'm weak, and we don't expect them to say so. So per se, we could say this. It's not necessarily negative to say I'm a strong person, but if you are, you don't necessarily need to say. It's a bit like I'm an intelligent black man. Since the thickness wrote, I can handle myself. My man is my man, not a babysitter. Some people say that the black man and the black woman needs healing. Maybe it's healing, maybe it's guidance in the sense of advice from elders. In Africa, usually when there's a problem in a couple, it might be the case more in rural areas than in big cities, but the partner can and will or would holler at the family, the parents of the husband or the wife, and say, okay, it's something, here's a situation here. We have to deal with it. You know, just like when there's a problem in the village, then ultimately the matter will be brought to the chief of the village, or in some places they will call him the king. They will say that, that he has a palace and so on. So there's some sort of authority that will ultimately make a decision for the best of the community. They do need healing and better understanding and communication skills. But this is a new dynamic. However, the feminism is a new dynamic. And you said yourself that, your father didn't have to deal, and it's not your father only. A lot of our parents didn't have to deal with this new dynamic of feminism, of this struggle, fight for recognition and maybe independence, and against patriarchy and what have you. And the funny thing is that, um, hold on. I will see if I can find it. I will see where I can find it. Where would it be? Might be there. Might be there. Let me see. Yes, it is there. So I will put it. I will put it. No, where is it? Is it there? Yes, there. Just going to show a quote. Um, so, in the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3, it says, But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. So, as far as Christians are concerned, if they go by the Bible, the man is the head of the woman, period. And that's it, you know. Now, we also have 1 Corinthians. Let me share it anyway, so we can read together. There it is. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 34. As in all the congregations of the saints, women should remain silent in the churches. They are not allowed to speak, but must be in submission, as the law says. If they want to inquire about something, they should ask their own husbands at home, for it is disgraceful for a woman to speak in the church. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11, 14. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman, being deceived, was in the transgression. So I don't think that the Christian woman would say that the Bible is misogynistic or that God is misogynistic, because uh, those passages, it's most likely Paul, people say that those men were inspired by God. Because some people say, well, the Bible was not written by God, and others will say, well, it was written by men inspired by God. You know. Now, when it comes to Islam, a lot of people don't know about that, but here I can show you the reference. Oh, what's going on here? Okay. So, Sahih Bukhari, volume 1, book 6, number 301, narrated Abu Sa'id Khudri, sorry. Once Allah's apostle went out to the Musalla to offer the prayer, then he passed by the woman and said, "O woman, give alms, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you, woman." They asked, "Why is it so, O Allah's apostle?" He replied, "You curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. A cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you." The woman asked, "Oh, Allah's apostle, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion?" He said, Is not the evidence of two women equal to the witness of one man?" They replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her intelligence. Isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses?" The woman replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her religion." That's a translation by Dr. Muhammad Mushin Khan. So, according to the Sunnah, this is a narration of Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Women are deficient in intelligence and in religion. It's not something that they bring up very often. They like to bring up all these nice passages. Au revoir, maman. Au revoir, maman. Ouais, au revoir, maman. Yeah, a lot of people are not aware of this. And sometimes when you bring up some hadith and they are authentic, they are reliable, like the collection of Sahih Bukhari, actually considered the most authentic or most reliable collection of hadith or narration about the sayings and the deeds of Prophet Muhammad and his companions. And sometimes they like to say, well, that's not the Quran. Can we say there is a Sunnah without the Quran? We don't know much about the life of Muhammad and what he said and what he did in the Quran. So those are two examples that show that in the Abrahamic believers don't necessarily have to deal with much feminism opposition. Women deficient in intelligence and in religion. To each his own. And it's something that I've said quite a few times, not too many times. But we have some black women who spend many years in their life into the different Abrahamic belief system, sometimes just one Abrahamic belief system. And then when she becomes conscious, she's the queen of the earth. She's a feminist, and she doesn't want just to be equal man, but she wants to run things. I came across a lot of women who say, "Well, men should let women run things because and they would give so many reasons as to why, and they will be criticizing men very often. Sometimes blaming males, black male, for the current state or current situation, and so on. But you'll be extremely different from the submissive way that she used to be before. Not to say that I expect her to be submissive once she becomes quote unquote conscious, but at least if she can be cooperative, because it's safe to say that women from other ethnic groups or backgrounds or cultures are at least cooperative towards their husband. And really, in a lot of cultures, the women are not just cooperative, but actually submissive towards their husbands. And maybe we could argue, my personal observation, once again, I might be wrong, is that black men are less harsh towards a woman than Arabs, Asians in general, um, Latinos in general. But yet, black men face more disrespect from their woman. I mean, you look at the Asian world, the Arab world, the way men treat their woman compared to the way black men treat their woman. There's a huge economy, and yet the woman don't dare say what black women tell black men. So it's a problem. It's a real problem. If we identify the problems, then we can make propositions for solutions. And we need to work together on this. Of course, there are things that are on point with brothers, and we can talk about it. But in general, do you agree or disagree that black men are nicer towards a woman than Asian men, for example, towards a woman? And the Asian woman respect the husband more than the black woman, even though their treatment from their men is harsher. So we need to face some reality here. Why is it so? How can we put that to an end? How can we diminish that if we cannot just eliminate that situation that is unhealthy? And there is what's going on at home. Sometimes we can even witness it in the street. And usually you don't witness often. I would say it's rare that when you look at other ethnic groups in public, in the street, you'll be hard pressed to see women of other ethnic groups being disrespectful to their husband. But when it comes to black women's behavior towards a husband in the street, sometimes. So I hope that sisters understand that I'm not trying to say that the main problem is woman or black woman. And over the years, for whoever might have happened to come through this live stream, over the years I have made criticism towards brothers, black men or men in general. And I think it's safe to say that I don't criticize black women regularly. I don't do it often. And like I said at the beginning, I'm usually reluctant because I don't want it to end into some, man versus woman or black man versus black woman, vice versa, you know. But I guess every now and then, some people might call it tough love, but uh, we have to bring a little bit of balance and be fair. So I definitely agree with the sister thickness. If it just doesn't work, then you might as well find some way to separate amicably if possible, rather than stay in the relationship and nag the man and all that. But some people might not agree. But we have the social media now, and sometimes some people will go and look at social media, and you have some ladies who get flown around the world, and maybe that will influence some people and feel like, well, I'm not traveling around the world, I'm not happy. But that's another dynamic. We still have a lot of black men and black women who are together, who are happy, who are raising healthy family, moving forward in society, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But unfortunately, we probably have too much issues in the relationships. And then, of course, we know that the environment of the children is very instrumental. I've been seeing, as is the case for, there it is. You see, this guy, it's the same guy that comes and trolls. I told you about him yesterday, didn't I? The name is so humoristic. But one day you might, be a man and show your face and come and talk like a grown man. But until then, maybe you have the satisfaction that I will address your comment anyway. But as usual, you will have to come back with another username. But that's a regular. That person is a regular. And he was so quick to put a sentence criticizing me that it didn't even make sense. You know, he meant to say light complected. Why is this dark complected European so concerned with the local issues of the USA? You know, so I'll touch on that. Some people have brought that up before. My skin complexion. Me being a light skin, and also some people have brought up me living in Europe. You know, because some people are elitist. Some people have elitist mindset. They feel like because they are in America, then this like they are higher or better, and it's just sad, but it is what it is. When people in America talk about what's going on in the world, what's going on in Africa, it's cool. But if somebody that lives in Europe or ultimately in Africa and is going to talk about what's going on in the US, then apparently it's a problem. You know, so it is what it is. You know, I mean, over the years, there's quite a few people who came up with some senseless things, statements, and so on, and instead of checking themselves, then they uh, they just let hate take over. You know, like there was a guy who he slide on air, and next thing you know, he sent all his minions, and they went on some flagging campaign just because the dude lied. Actually, some people don't know how to take an L. I'm telling you. Not long ago, I was talking with a doctor, and at one point he asked me if I ever read some of his colleagues' work, and then when I said no, he goes, "You see, this is what I'm talking about." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So now it's a negative because I didn't read one person's work. You know, out of all the people that I read, it's just not enough. As a matter of fact, first the reproach was that I did not read the book that was critiqued. Then the reproach was that I did not read the response or the rebuttal. I clarified that I've actually read the rebuttal. And then I was saying I would agree that if I was to do the critique, then reading the book would be the best thing. And when I was trying to repeat that, and I started saying that if I was to do the critique, he cut me off saying, "You're not qualified to do the critique because you don't know Meroitic script." The guy doesn't know the meta nature. He admitted it himself, but he can write a book making comparison between the word Amen or Imen, which is meta nature, and other African languages. But I cannot make a critique because I don't know one African language or script. But it's all good. I won't lose sleep over this. Some people just don't know how to take a L. And you have other people who just label you an agent, who say that you are with the enemy. For example, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Like I said a few times, he challenged me to a debate. I accepted. We spoke about it on the phone. It was supposed to be the end of the year, blah, blah, blah. I quoted some people who refuted some of his claims. Those people happen to be fluent in Arabic. And Wesley Muhammad was so angry and embarrassed because he was a real slaughter. So he said, "Oh, Shaka is going against his brother, quoting white scholar. Oh my God, that's it. I'm not going to debate him anymore." That was his excuse. That was his excuse. So apparently, in the world of academia and scholarship, when it's suitable, you're not supposed to quote white people. I mean, um, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, man. But it is what it is. So, brothers and sisters, feel free if you want to add on. You can talk about TD Jake's statement, and if you don't know what we're talking about, I will play it because it's only 1 minute long, or you can talk about anything else. Feel free. I'm in a good flowing mode right now.
Sociological order, this breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now. Because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning.
If you want to address this and the controversy that it has caused, feel free. Or anything else, feel free. Now, just in case, just for the record, for the people who wonder if I have some paper or publication, in the description of this video, it says Call of Prophet Muhammad according to Islamic sources. It is not in PDF format. I could put it in PDF format. I could upload it on Academia or any other website. I don't need to. It's there. So if anybody wants to critique that piece of work, then be my guest. And more than 10 years ago, just for the record, I wrote 2 articles refuting the so-called linguists. And back then, the so-called linguist said that he will write something about his claim, his exotic claim. So I don't mind he didn't write anything, but I'm just saying for the record, I didn't wait for anybody to say that, in academia, that's the way we do it, it has to be done in writing, blah, blah, blah. That's 10 years ago. So I welcome any criticism about this article regarding the call of Prophet Muhammad according to Islamic sources. Because some people run around and saying that Prophet Muhammad was jet black, and they claim to use the they claim to use the hadith, the classical Arabic text. So I'm like, all right, let's deal with it. But sometimes when people have a PhD. It's not just a badge of honor. It's like a license to be as tricky as they can be. Sometimes, and that's more the black. Is it more? the- it's probably more in the black community. It's like a license to excel in technology, and when need be, the title will be thrown at you. And if it was just about the skin color or or the complexion of Prophet Muhammad, that would be one thing. But there's so many areas. I mean, not long ago, we've seen with Brother Reggie, we got in the Treaty, the BACT Treaty, BAQT. That's how it is written in English. That's how it is rendered in English, where Nubia had to sell 360 slaves every year to Egypt. And the guy just says that, the Nubians were the victors. That doesn't surprise anybody. When dude said throw Kemet in the garbage can, throw Ma'at in the trash can, throw Ahmed Rad slave, making it go away, that didn't bother anybody. When the dude said Malcolm X was bamboozled, that didn't bother anybody. Now, when he said African degrees are Bush degrees, that bothered a few people. And apparently only one spoke up. Well, only one scholar spoke up. African Science wrote, please separate black community from so-called conscious community. Well, I try to, and that's why many times I say so-called conscious community, or sometimes I say conscious community. Period. You know, because I know it's not the same. The so-called conscious community, it's not just virtual, and it's not completely virtual. You know, but it's anything goes. It's a melting pot of everything and anything under the sun. So yeah, African Science. Can you remind me where you are located? You don't have to say the city if you don't want to, but at least the states if you are. I'm sorry, at least the state if you are in America, and if you are not, then which country is it? Just in case, because sometimes people miss it. Link to get on the panel must show your face. There it is. Anybody wants to get on the panel? If you are ready to show your face, then you are welcome. Otherwise, just use the chat. When I think about that Wesley's excuse, pretext, I quoted some white people. Sometimes in the so-called conscious community, people will say, well, he's only quoting white folks. Oh, you're from the ATL, I see. All right. The ATL. Download City. ATL has a reputation for being a place with an extremely high amount of download dudes. We don't even hear that term anymore. ATL is known for being one of the largest. At one point, people used to say it was like the blackest city in America. Or maybe it's one of the blackest large city in America. But anyway, it might be the busiest airport in America. Well, maybe it was at one point because apparently, oh yeah, yeah, Atlanta. As of 2021, if they are down low, how does one get an accurate count? And busiest airport in the world, indeed. Well, I don't have all the specifics, but I presume the women, the wives, will speak out because eventually they will find out. You know, I don't think it's a myth. Maybe it's a bit exaggerated, but I came up quite a lot, and that was a long time ago, though, because today, just as the feminist movement is gaining more and more influence, there's the LGBTQ and all these other letters that they add every now and then as very influential and powerful as a lobby. And if you happen to talk about um, other sexual orientation besides heterosexuals, you could quickly be labeled as homophobic and you could quickly end up in a lot of adversity. So it's not surprising that people don't really talk about this kind of thing. I would say it has a lot of openly gay people. Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. But anyway, I don't really want to talk about sexual orientation. But if people want to talk about it, any topic is welcome. But that's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm sure has more LGBTQ though. Oh, I'm sure NY has more LGBTQ though. Oh, okay. Okay, but I was talking about download people, and people who don't know what it used to mean. I don't know what it means today, because it's not really used that much. We don't really hear that much, but it was used a lot. I mean, that was years ago, to be honest. It's a guy who's basically uh either bisexual or just homosexual, but he is married with a woman to hide his sexual orientation, and then eventually some of them would get discovered, and the wife is shocked to say the least because she wasn't aware, she wasn't told. Oh yeah, the people who are left alone when it comes to I don't know if I should say attack or onslaught by LGBTQ. The people who are kind of left alone are the Abrahamic believers because it's their literature, it's their sacred scriptures, and they are quite big and influential anyway. So they will not really holler at them like that because if they wanted to, there's literature that is very explicit and very clear about the non-acceptance of their lifestyle. Like the Bible, for example. But they will not go there. They will not go there. So it is what it is. No, as a matter of fact, You have LGBTQ movements, organization. You have feminist movements and organizations. You also have movements and organizations for the well-being of animals as well. And some of them are quite militant. Some of them love the action, and demonstration, and they will not just criticize but even attack, and some almost harass people if they dare wear fur or any other attire made from animal skin. And they have some influence as well. You know, they do have some influence. Now, you have people who are vegetarian or vegan, as we say now. There might be some differences between the two, but anyway, um, a lot of them will also be active or activists within those movement or organization for the well-being of animals. Because they are not only against the wearing of clothing made from animals somehow, some way, but they are, uh, for many of them, if not for the most part, against the consumption of animals. Period. Well, some of them, went very far. Some of them went very far, and you have different movements and causes. And it's funny how many causes worldwide are accepted, but the black cause, if we can call it that, a lot of time is just not accepted, criticized, and so on. So you can advocate for animals, but if you advocate for black people, some people will criticize you. But the police brutality alone, when we have footage now, because it's a different era of people being unjustifiably killed, would they say it's victimization? That's not the only problem, but it is one of the worst. But of course, if we bring that up, others will bring, the black on black violence or black on black crime, which is a reality, but is not racially motivated. And that's a huge difference. Hey, Nutri Wellness, how you doing? Give me something to flow about, brothers and sisters. It's been 1 hour and 45 minutes. I would like to, have your input. Know what you think. Know how you feel about what was said or anything else you would like to talk about. I was even hesitant of making a video and putting Jesus Christ. Um, what are the records? Because now it appears that we have quite a fair bit of people. Well, of course, D.D. Jakes is a Christian. He's a, well, you have so many terms now. I would say he's a pastor, but you have so many titles. You have minister, you have priest, you have archbishop, you have, I mean, so what he said is expected. Well, if it's expected, then why is it causing a backlash? Why is it causing so much controversy? But what I'm waiting for an answer, if that comes, We have some people now who break down the historicity of Jesus Christ, and I'm quite curious and surprised because it appears that we have plenty of writings, contemporaneous writings. It appears that we have plenty of evidence for his historicity. So let's see how far it goes. To me, it's more like a revival movement. Movement that comes and goes. You know, with time. When you have some zealots who want to go all the way, some diehards who want to go all the way. So from an academic point of view, from a historical point of view, let's see. From a Christian apologist point of view, the so-called evidence will be countless. There's too many to share. But from the world of academia, we'll see what will be presented to us. I should start the live streams later. But I cannot do that all the time. Feel free, brothers and sisters. Some of you have never interacted in the chat. See the opportunity. I mean, do you all agree with what I'm saying? Well, if you agree with everything I'm saying, cool, so be it. I doubt that. But if you ever had some questions before, if you have a question now, then feel free. You know that young 19-year-old black guy that was killed. His father is from Ivory Coast. His mother's from India. I've seen pictures of his brother, so definitely black. Period. We cannot really tell that there's some ethnic mixing, but um, for those who don't know, he was 19 years old. He was in a relationship with a young lady from Algeria that they knew each other from at least primary school, but some say they knew each other from kindergarten school. They wanted to get married. The family did not accept the relationship. The brother of the Algerian girl, the girlfriend, the brother of the girlfriend just stabbed that 19-year-old black man or black young man in the heart, and he died. And now there's more. There's more people who talk about it, but it's just people who happen to have some account online. I have yet to see some organization like organization, you know, association or organization for the defense of black people or for the interest of black people. I've yet to see any talking about that, but I'm not surprised at all because many of them is it's just you have so many not only Abrahamic believers but so many Arabites black dudes, and they will just not talk about anything that will make their masters uncomfortable, you know. So that doesn't surprise me at all, but it highlights their hypocrisy, you know. Because if the young black guy was killed by someone other than a North African Muslim, they will be talking about it, you know. Now, Nutri4 Wellness wrote, I didn't know it was a controversy. Did TD Jakes have to apologize? I wouldn't say he had to apologize, you know. And some people might not agree with the word controversy, but there's definitely some backlash. So it's very recent. Uh, like I was saying earlier, it's about a week ago, you know, maybe not even 7 days ago, maybe like 5 to 6 days ago. So it will pop up more often on social media. Some other people might talk about it. There's quite a fair bit of videos, you know what I'm saying? Different, you know, channels and so on. So we'll see. We'll see. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, in the media, they need something to talk about. They need something in their feed. So should we call it a day, brothers and sisters? It's been 1 hour and 45 minutes. Not 45, 55 minutes. Should we call it a day because there's no participation? So you know that's such it's so much a shame of a shame because you know for example, I don't have to go to work tomorrow morning. A lot of time I was live streaming, and you know I had to go to work, you know, the next morning. So um and there was a lot of people, a lot of participation, and you know the irony that when I don't have to go to work, but it's holiday season, you know, it's the irony. There's plenty of time where you know I had to put an end to the live stream and you know get like you know 4 hours sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I will not be exhausted at work. Now I really have the time, so you know we could really go on. You know, but like I was saying, I was hesitant about you know putting Jesus Christ or other records, something like that. But you know, a lot of time I'm thinking about addressing the topic, and I end up changing my mind. You know, there's a lot of time I'm thinking about live streaming about a particular topic, and then I change my mind. Hey, we have Piccolo Son, who was actually from Bermuda. He wrote, "Humans don't know how to grow men," and yeah. So sometimes I'm thinking about touching, you know, on the Abrahamic belief system, but then I kind of change my mind because I'm thinking, well, we will have most likely the same talking points. We hear the same things, so I'm like, okay, uh, I'd rather use my time and go through the books of Bart Ehrman, you know, and get some more useful quotes, you know. because we have some people who are on the path of validating the narrative of the Old Testament, the Exodus narrative, and the titles are quite impressive. Like I said yesterday, the pharaohs of the Exodus. I'm like, all right, okay, okay. But that's not available for the public. People need to be members of some Patreon site. So the the great revelation will not be televised. Nutrition Wellness is asking, which book are you reading by Ehrman? Well, I don't know why. I have not finished well, I'm sorry, Did Jesus Exist? I went to a certain point. Then I wasn't sure where I stopped. So I kind of read it not from the beginning, but from a certain point where that I knew I had already read, and I know it's about Paul, you know. And then I eventually, stopped again. So that's the one I have to finish, and I will go to other books by Bart D. Ehrman. I like his writing style, very clear, very, very clear. Are you scared of his conclusion? Not at all. I know his conclusion already. Right from the advertisement of the book Did Jesus Exist, his conclusion was clear. I'm paraphrasing, but he said things to the effect of, um, if we believe that Julius Caesar existed, then we have to believe that Jesus Christ existed. I forgot if it was Barnes and Noble, but there was a video advertisement for the book, and it started by naming historical persons or people considered to be historical persons for which we don't have artifacts during their lifetime. And if I'm not mistaken, Julius Caesar was mentioned, along with Pontius Pilate and probably Jesus Christ. And I ended up making my video called Pilate Inscription. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, actually, the Wannabe linguist who says that rise of volcano and allies in the Egyptian text, and Diop didn't do the work, it didn't use the right method in comparative linguistics. Um, um, I remember when he said that we don't have any records for Imhotep. I mean, dang, if you were to list some of the people's claims. So, Pilate. So after hearing that, I actually pulled for the record. I pulled out an artifact where Imhotep is actually mentioned. During his lifetime. Uh, yeah, there's the video here. Pilate inscription. Gonna share the link. in the chat. Oh, for a while I was saying that um there's like one letter missing, but no, it's actually three letters missing from his name. So it's a good thing that I just had a look again. It's best to try to be as accurate as possible. So that's the video here, and you have the actual inscription, which is located in the, oh, what's that? Okay, we have an advert. Just give me 5 seconds. And there it is. Okay, this time I'll pause the video. So located in Israel Museum, and it says Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judah. Now for the word Judah, we have you see those two letters missing at the end in bracket. That's a, you see the three sentences in red. I don't know if you can see my cursor. See, so the second line or second sentence, we have PON that's missing because it's in bracket. Then we have the TIVS, and the V, of course, is the sound. It's basically the U. The U sound, Pontius, and then we have Pilatus, that we call Pilate in English. And I don't claim to speak Latin for the record, okay? And then prefectus, because he was a prefect. Many times people say he was a governor, but more precisely, he was a prefect. And then the Latin word for Judah is something like Judaia, okay? Let me see from Britannica what date they give for his death. You know what? I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. No, I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, good. Okay, good. So Britannica. Late. He died after 36 CE, and this artifact is dated. Oh no, that's the date for his reign. He reigned during between 26 and 36 CE. What is this? Okay, now Piccoloson left a few comments. He wrote, "You want to understand if Jesus exists until you become just like Jesus and realize it's real. Then you have to comprehend the laws of creation and understand for everything that is mental, there is a physical version, because reality is fractal with all realm mirroring each other. So what you find or manifest in the mental realms, I'm sorry. So what you find or manifest in the mental realm has a counterpart in the other realms, including the physical realm. All right. But I'm not really talking about becoming Jesus, not into the metaphysics. I'm just talking about the the person, the character, the individual, Jesus or Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Yeshua Christos, as described or as narrated in the book we call the Bible. So I'm not talking about the real Jesus or the fake Jesus, but just Jesus in general. And of course, Jesus, some people say was a common name, Yeshua, but just clarified which one I'm talking about. Brother Piccolo Son wrote, it's not metaphysics, it's reality. No, it cannot be reality because you wrote. You want to understand if Jesus exists until you become okay, just like Jesus. My bad. I take that back. Thought you wrote that like you become Jesus. Become sentient equals understand what is going on. Okay. So yeah, all this to say that Bart Ehrman, I knew his conclusion before I read the book. His conclusion that is that he um, and of course he had some interviews about this book and all, but it's at this conclusion that there was a historical Jesus, probably not someone that performed all those deeds or miracles that we have in the Bible, but there was still a historical Jesus. It's a convenient what's the word? What's the word again? Compromise. It's a convenient compromise. So we have some Christian apologists, even amongst the so-called conscious community, who are on that path of talking about the historical Jesus, not the miracle performing Jesus. Miracles are just science you don't understand yet. Is resurrection science, brother? Because besides resurrecting himself, according to the narrative, he resurrected two people, male and female. When you learn to work with the micro life inside of you, you will understand. Okay, all right, okay. But you don't have to answer. Nobody's under any obligation, but humans don't understand what death is. Okay. But it's resurrection science, though. And nurture for wellness world because no one worships the historical Jesus. Well, I agree with you. Some people will argue that Jesus is not to be worshipped. You know, Piccolo Son wrote, that's why there are men that have. Okay, I don't understand that sentence. I'm sorry. So, and it's not just a resurrection. Multiplying bread and fishes instantly, changing wine. I'm sorry, water into wine instantly. Um, Walking on water. It's all of this science. If it's not miracles, that's a convenient term for these Abrahamic claims. And to me, science fiction. There are many that have been put in the grave alive. Well, being put in the grave alive is not the same as resurrection. Resurrection is someone that died that comes back to life. I'm not talking about somebody that has surgery and I was, kind of dead for a few seconds, and then they use the electroshock. I mean, how do you call it? Forgot how you call it. But those medical tool to give the some electric shock. I don't know if you call it shockers. But anyway, so we don't need to go back and forth about what resurrection is. They are not dead in the first place. Well, for the record, Jesus was said to have died and resurrected 3 days later. So, if you want to tell me that's science, more power to you. More power to you. But humans don't understand because they have not yet, because they have yet to understand life. All right, okay. Well, you have the right to believe in it. But just because you believe in it, I don't think it's fair to say that we just don't understand. It reminds me of some people who make some linguistic acrobatics and linguistic gymnastics. And when we tell them that we don't agree, they tell us we don't understand. And there are many people actually who are into metaphysics, the root chakras, the kundalini, and they tell us about stuff that they cannot demonstrate, and they will tell us that we just don't understand. That we have to be at a certain level of consciousness to understand. I can show you how to understand. All right. Just like you have some, I mean, traditional priests and some voodoo priests who make a lot of claims. What they are mainly after is your paper. Some would say, payment after results, but this is how you gain the understanding. So we have 2 feet, bare feet. So I need to walk barefooted to gain the understanding then. So I'm in connection with the earth, with the ground, with the life force of the earth on your toes. You have to run barefoot, not just walk barefoot, but run barefoot. Sounds like metaphysics to me, but to each his own. Whatever can help one to be a better person and not harm others, then no, it's more than that. All right. Let's try to be down to earth, though. Let's try to be down to earth and let's try not to live on Mars. That's usually what I say when I refer to metaphysics or metaphysicians. They live on Mars, they live on other planets, the astral project. They have knowledge of the universe, they have knowledge of galaxies. Neutral for Wellness wrote Piccolo is trolling. I think it's not trolling. He's into this metaphysics stuff. It's like uh, Piccolo is a regular. I mean, it doesn't come too often. But he even came on. On the panel. So the pain you feel at your feet, it build you. I don't know if you meant to write empathy or if it's just that word, empathy. I'm not familiar with that word. Empathy. I think it's a typo. And that's interesting because like I said, quite a few times. Nowadays we don't really hear that much about metaphysics, but I'm telling you, man, 2008, 2009, 2010, actually all the way to until 2012, because remember people were talking about the alignments of the planets in 2012, and there was going to be some shifts, some paradigm shifts. Some people will talk about some catastrophes and so on. So It looks like a lot of people lost faith in metaphysics and stopped dealing with it when they realized that after 2012, not much happened, you know. But the 2012 was the new year 2000. You remember, 1999, December 31st, and some were talking about some stuff happening. Others were talking about the bug, the big bug with the computers, and 2012. I mean, when we were approaching 2012, we will hear it all, you know, and it's possible that some metaphysicians had some people believe that in 2012 with the paradigm shifts and the alignments of the planets, then we will come back on top, and then people will be disappointed, to say the least. The empathy will allow you to perceive pain in everything around you and change your mindset, giving you the ability to learn from nature. I become thought in 2019. You became thought in 2019. So, brothers and sisters, anything else you want to touch on or talk about? Feel free. Let's see what's going down, and then if it has to end, then it has to end. We'll be back another time. We'll be back another day. Metaphysics was so popular, man. I'm telling you. Oh, it was so popular. I'm here to help everyone become thought. Jesus was an incomplete thought that tried to explain how to become like he did, but he failed to figure out how to, just like Nikola Tesla. Well, stay on earth with us, brother, for a while at least. Try to do that for us. I mean, personally, and I might lack some knowledge or experience or anything else, but I'm not on the same page at all. And it's nothing towards you. I've been saying it for years, anything that has to do with metaphysics. And Elon Musk is also like me, but he has not awakened. Ah, my dear brother. Try what I suggest if you got cojones. All right, bro. Well, and maybe it's the same with people who are into Kemet and Medu Nature. Maybe I should try to deal with it when I am encountering like-minded people, because they might see it as far-fetched, and some of them feel like it hasn't been deciphered. And as we have seen recently, I mean, we have, and it's probably not the only one. But usually they would say F Kemet, but you have that guy who said F the Medu Nature. I mean, the dude insulted the language. Oh my, that's something. Hey, brother Chris, MVP Harris, how you doing, brother? Watch the barefoot vibe I put together. I guess it's vibe. It says vibe. It's probably a typo. Chris, I went over the video of yesterday's live stream, and I was cracking up. It was so funny. Oh man, I'm telling you, so funny. The double standard. We are told there are no rules. We can do anything you want. There are no rules. And some other people will make crazy claims for years, but those rules don't apply to them. Now, I don't know if you remember Piccolo's son Chris, or if you ever came across him, but our brother Piccolo's son from Bermuda is into metaphysics, and it's like way beyond my uh, realm, way beyond my reality. So I was telling the brother that, you know, if you could try to remain with us on planet Earth, and I'm not making fun of the brother, because there are some things that people accept or people believe in, and we know it, and it's weird. Like, like you have the what is it, Jonas, who spent I don't know how many days inside of a well, and then he came out of the well, you know. And there's other examples as well. But once it's religion, and probably and most likely a major religion or dominant religion, then it's like part of the status quo. It's accepted. You know, it's funny how humans fighting over who things from the past belong to, yet they cannot reproduce it. Well, what things from the past? Many what we have is writings, and the reason why so many people are into those belief systems, the Abrahamic belief system, is because of war. It's because of war. That's the main reason. Because of conquering, because of conquest. We were not into those lifestyle before they hollered at us and they conquered us. But oftentimes we want to romanticize, and we will say, well, when they conquered Nubia, they said, you will send me 360 slaves every year. And then in their endeavor to romanticize, they would say, well, the Nubians were the victors. They determined the terms of the agreement. If we go that far, it's like, for example, that same person, that same PhD in Islamic studies, many people don't know because Gaddafi's everybody's hero. I mean, when people have money and power, they will be respected anyway. Like Idi Amin, we have that picture of him being carried by some Europeans, and many people see that as such a significant picture. Um, and if we bring up the fact that he was accused of killing many of his own people, then the answer will most likely be, well, this is the Western's propaganda. There's no truth to that. And Gaddafi is seen as a great hero. It appears to have done quite a fair bit of positive things for his own people. But if you finance people, cut people's hands off, and commit other kind of atrocities. But anyway, while I was talking about Gaddafi, I lost my thought now. Um, oh yes, I remember now. The PhD in Islamic study, when it was a controversy, many people don't know about that, but Gaddafi, I went over it. I read it before. Gaddafi labeling the Africans coming to Europe as uneducated and barbarians and stuff like that. He warned Europe that if Europe don't give him money so that he can regulate the flow of migrants towards Europe, then it will be just like the time of the what did you say again? Just like the time of the use a term that denotes a time period. of the Crusades, I think he said, something like that. So uh, his words was African or not kind at all. And I've seen the PhD in Islamic studies saying, well, guys don't understand the tactic and stuff like that, basically making excuses for that, as if well he used those words because he had a goal and his goal was to get the paper. I mean, people. I mean, you gotta accept everything, man. It told you you're disfigured, you're marked, you're the essence of ugliness, you accepted it. There's a curse of harm, you accepted it. We have a full breakdown, then the Old Testaments or Tanakh literature, which is called the Talmud, and here we have a full breakdown of what the curse of harm means. You'll accept it. You all accept it. Some people might not know what I'm talking about. Now, I hope I'm not going to be labeled anti-Semitic. So far, I haven't. So I think you'll be okay because the article has been there for years. Some people say it's not the curse of Ham, it's the curse of Canaan. All right, okay. You have so many people who wrote articles to say, well, some people claim that black people are cursed in the Bible, or they talk about the curse of Ham and the curse of Canaan, and here is a passage and so on. Okay. Now, for those who don't know, you know what? I will share the link. You'll be able to see it for yourself. I'll put curse of Ham slash Canaan. That's it. Now, you have the Midrash Rabbah, Bereshit Rabbah, which is rabbinic literature. We have three rabbis: R. Joseph, dead in 333, R. Huna, dead in 297, and R. Shiza Bar Abba, um, from 136 to 217. And they comment an assault on Noah committed by Ham already inside the ark. And because of this act, his descendant became black. But Robert Graves and Raphael Patai gives us a preview. And that's from the book The Hebrew Myths. Midrash Rabbah, that's comments on the Pentateuch. And Bereshit Rabbah, that's comments on Genesis. Bereshit, doesn't that mean beginning or something like that in Hebrew? Or the Canaanite dialect that we call Hebrew. So anyway, now I can no longer engender the fourth son whom I would have got. I'm sorry. Now I can no longer engender the fourth son whom I would have gave the order. Your children shall serve you and your brothers. It has to be Canaan, your firstborn, that they shall take as a slave. And since you have made me incapable of doing bad things in the darkness of the night, the children of Canaan will be born ugly and black. Also, because you have stretched yourself to see my nudity, the hair of your grandchildren will curl so that it turns nappy, and their eyes will be red. Also, because your lips have joked about my misfortune, yours will swell, and since you had a lack of respect for my nudity, they will go around naked, and their virile part extend ignobly. Old editions of the Talmud still states that Cush, lineage of Ham, shall become black because of the curse. The crow and the Cushite will be black because of their wrongdoings. Okay, I will leave it there. So that also they accepted. That also they accept it. So, you know. Nutri for Wellness is asking, that's Talmud, what date? Many people say that we have the Babylonian Talmud, and then there's another Talmud, but I forgot how they describe it. Now, let me see what I can find besides the book that was given in the article. Um, because this might come from, actually, that's what the article says, that it comes from what we call exegesis, or is it exegesis? Exegesis? I'm not sure how you pronounce it in English. Um, Midrash Rabbah. Um, is the Midrash Rabbah part of the Talmud? Jerusalem Talmud, Babylonian Talmud. So the Midrash Rabbah might not be part of the Talmud, and the Bereshit Rabbah apparently not either. So that would be exegesis, interpretation of the text. However, the article states that, oh, you know what? I will look it up, because it says that all editions of the Talmud still state that Cush lineage of Ham shall become black because of the curse. I might just look into it and try to see. I don't even know. I'm not too familiar with the Talmud, so I will see, you know, the format, if they have like chapters or verses, and see, if I can find some reference, because we should have some Talmud online, you know, so, and everybody could go and see for themselves and put online. Jihad.org. I cannot search. Oh, yes, I can. Push. Oh, that okay. If I put okay, what did the text say? Oh, let me put crow. I have more chances. Mhm. Um, haha. No, that's not what I need. It's quite a fair bit of result for crow, so I'm just having a quick look. Okay, as I go down, there's more results. So I will try to put the crow and the Kushite to see if a result comes up. As I expected, zero result. Sometimes the controversial parts are not that easy to find. Um, comments going. I don't know if there are any, but I will go through them. Um, okay, I'll try this. Oh, it's funny. Just like in the Quran, there's a passage that says that in the day of judgment, the people who sin, I'm paraphrasing, but their faces will turn black or dark. I don't remember what Arabic word they used, and we have something called Rosh Hashanah 17a, where it says, Rabbi Yitzhak bar Avin said, and their faces on the day of judgment will be black and sooty like the bottom of a pot. Anyway, that was just in passing. It's a shame. I guess I'll have to take some time and find. The wordings also play a part. There's no participation now, so let me see. This one I can close. Oh, never mind. Might be a case of when they translate from the Medu Neter and they use the word Negro instead of Nubian or Nehisi. Oh, my bad. Oh, the Sanhedrin, Sanhedrin, I think that's a Talmud. Is it or is it not? Oh, it looks like it will be kind of equivalent of a Sharia, but it looks like it's not the Talmud. Okay, so I'll pass on that. Okay. Find more article explaining that no, it doesn't mean that black people are cursed. It has nothing to do with, you know. Oh, hold on. Okay. So far, we can say it's rabbinic literature, but I wish I'll come across some quote from the Talmud. Interesting. There was an article from the New York Times entitled "Does Talmud Contain Roots of Racism?" It is February 28, 1994. Share the link in the chat. I'm not going to read it all. I just want to show you a passage. It says that what I read actually from the Talmud. Is it sharing? Oh no, I haven't shared it yet. No, it's not that one. It's the other one. There it is. Now, this is a digitized version of an article from the Times Print Archive before the start of online publication of 1996. So we have Harold Brackman, who denies the claim by Louis Farrakhan, head of the Nation of Islam, that Mr. Brackman's 1977 PhD dissertation proved that the Talmud's compilers invented racism by concocting the so-called Ham myth. According to Mr. Brackman, none of my conclusions correspond to this vicious libel or libel. I'm not sure how you pronounce that word. But this is what the youthful Mr. Brackman actually wrote. I'm pretty sure, should I read it all? Okay, let's go ahead. The opening centuries of the Christian era constituted an let me see how well it shows anyway. First, okay, that's good. The opening centuries of the Christian era constituted an interregnum in the native African record of historical achievements, separating Cush's era of ancient prominence from the medieval accomplishments of the great Negro states of the Sudan. The same centuries form the seedbed of rabbinic Judaism. And this fateful coincidence goes far toward explaining why they also form such fertile soil for the growth of Jewish lore demeaning the Negro. The most famous of these anti-Negro legends cluster about Ham and Noah's cursing of Canaan. There's no denying that the Babylonian Talmud was the first source to read a negrophobic content into the episode by stressing Canaan's fraternal connections with Cush. The Talmudic glosses of the episode added the stigma of blackness to the fate of enslavement that Noah predicted for Ham's progeny. The ebb and flow of conflict, a history of black Jewish relations through 1900, pages 79 to 81. Mr. Brackman cited what he called an important Talmudic version of the myth. Ham is told by his outraged father that because you have abused me in the darkness of the night, your children shall be born black and ugly. Because you have twisted your head to cause me embarrassment, they shall have kinky hair and red eyes. Because your lips jested at my expense, theirs shall swell, and because you neglected my nakedness, they shall go naked. And that was page 81. I say nothing in defense of Mr. Farrakhan, but this episode demonstrates that his Jewish establishment opponents are no better scholars than he is. Lenny Berner, New York, February 19, 1994. So I will go from this quotation here and see what I can find. But according to this New York Times article, it is from the Babylonian Talmud. All right. Someone wants to add on and feel free. I will see if I have some better result. looking for this. It's basically the same, but not the same wording, you know. So that's a difficulty. Your children shall be born black and ugly. You know what, I'm gonna remove and ugly. I'm gonna have better chances. But it looks like I'm in for a long ride. Now there's no participation. It's been 2 hours and 59 seconds. So we will put an end to this in less than 3 hours. I will not put the outro. Stay safe, stay healthy, and if I'm allowed to by the nature, I will definitely holler back at you. Hotel.